In Ecuador, the depth of a 6.5 earthquake in Guayas rose to 15. President Guillermo Lasso visited the most affected areas. In France, demonstrators take to the streets to protest against President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform. And in Israel, security forces repressed protests against the judicial overhaul proposed by Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right government. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Ecuador, 15 people have been reported dead after a 6.5 magnitude earthquake that hit the province of Guayas on Saturday. According to the Secretariat of Risk Management, all ministries are active and with economic resources to urgently attend to this emergency. The government entity also said that a team of specialists has been deployed to Isla Puna, near the epicenter of the earthquake, to evaluate the needs and deliver humanitarian aid to the people affected. At the moment, more than 440 people are reported injured. At least 180 houses have been damaged and 84 totally destroyed, while 50 schools and 31 health centers have been affected. Authorities warn that these figures, both in terms of death and injuries, as well as the damage to infrastructure, could increase as assessments in the affected areas continue. In Peru, the municipality of Punta Hermosa has issued a statement ordering the emergency evacuation of the inhabitants of the district due to a landslide warning in the area. Authorities have issued evacuation orders for parts in Punta Hermosa, Lima province due to the threat of landslide. Reports indicate that a rupture of a reservoir in Santo Domingo de los Olleros may cause large landslides in the municipality, particularly in North Beach and Central Beach. Officials are recommending residents to stay alert and move to higher areas. Authorities could expand evacuation orders in the coming hours. Interruptions in electricity and telecommunication services are possible where significant flooding or landslides impact utility networks. Floodwaters and debris flows could render some bridges, road networks, or roadways impassable, impacting overland travel around affected areas. In Colombia, heavy rains due to a winter wave continue to affect several areas throughout the country. According to District Institute for Risk Management and Climate Change, so far at least 2 deaths have been reported due to floods and landslides, while about 540 families have been affected. The heavy rains have generated serious damage in Cundinamarca department, where half of the municipalities remain on alert. At least 8 localities of Bogota are also affected. The country's Hydrology, Meteorology and Environmental Studies Institute confirmed that the middle basins of Magdalena and Cauca rivers are on red alert due to high flows as well. It also predicted that the rains will last until the end of April 2023. The United Socialist Party of Venezuela supports the measures taken by the Venezuelan state to strengthen the fight against corruption. The President of the Republic and of the ruling party, Nicolás Maduro, issued a statement where he reiterated the policy of zero tolerance towards corruption and treason and called for the arrest of those who think they can call into question the honesty of the revolution. For his part, the first vice president of the party, Diosdado Cabello, called on citizens and party militants to denounce and act against corruption. These statements come after a police operation carried out on 17th March in which several officials were arrested, including Joselit Ramirez, superintendent of crypto assets in Venezuela. The president of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Brahim Ghali, arrived in Venezuela on Sunday for a 2-day official visit. The Arab dignitary was received this morning at the Simón Bolívar International Airport in Maiquetía, in the state of La Guaira, by the People's Power Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ivan Hill, accompanied by the Deputy Minister for Africa in the Foreign Ministry, Yuri Pimentel. This is the first time that the Secretary General of the Polisario Front has arrived in the South American country with which he has fraternal ties of friendship. Last Thursday, Ghali received the credentials of the new ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic accredited to the SAR Juan Bautista Arias. The diplomat conveyed to the President the greetings of the Venezuelan President, Nicolás Maduro, and reaffirmed Venezuela's firm decision to continue supporting the cause of the Sahrawi people and their right to self-determination. This Sunday, the National Electoral Council of Cuba is carrying out a dynamic test in view of next March 26 national elections, where citizens will have to elect 470 deputies to the People's Power National Assembly. According to the Vice President of the electoral body, Tomás Amaran, the exercise consists of a practical test in the polling centers and in each of the structures where conditions have been created to conduct the voting. Amaran indicated that a practical exercise will be carried out with ballots that will not bear the names of the candidates, which will include a scrutiny and transmission of the votes. According to Marina Carbo, member of the National Electoral Council, all these actions are aimed at ensuring that these elections are organized and transparent, as established by electoral law in the country. The government of Bolivia is working to control a dengue fever outbreak in several departments. Health system has detected over 15,000 positive cases. Freddy Armijo, head of epidemiology at the Ministry of Health and Sports, informed to the press that so far in 2023, a total of 47 people have died of dengue fever, while the number of active cases is 15,477, with the department of Santa Cruz being the most affected with 11,077 cases, represented the highest number so far. However, Armijo pointed out that the number of infections is decreasing thanks to government actions. The official remarked that work continues with concrete actions for the prevention and diagnosis of suspected patients. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In France, protests continue against Emmanuel Macron's pension reform. This Sunday, citizens came out to the streets to reaffirm their rejection of government's plan to change the retirement age from 62 to 64 years old, approved this Thursday without the vote of Parliament, under the legal protection of a constitutional power which makes it possible to avoid the legislature. Sunday's demonstrations take place one day before the vote in Parliament on motions of disapproval presented by opposition deputies against the government, which, if approved, would invalidate the presidential decree. Demonstrators described the reform as unfair and its approval as an arbitrary measure on behalf of the government. Therefore, they claim that the blockade actions will be sustained and will gradually increase.
A requisition breaks the right to strike. Today, the people are in the streets to show their discontent. Macron, he does not listen to the little people. The people say no to him, and he continues despite everything, despite him having the majority either in the assembly. He imposes 49.3, so the requisitions, it will still set fire to power. We, the trade unionists, will be in the streets to defend our right to strike.
It is a question of solidarity. Personally, I'm not concerned, but it is a question of solidarity, and my wife is, and many other people are. And today it's retirement, but tomorrow it's going to be something else.
More than 1,200 polling stations in Montenegro opened their doors at 7 a.m. local time on Sunday to hold presidential elections. Some 540,000 voters will be able to elect a new president from among 7 candidates, only one woman among them, for a 5-year term. The elections are held a few days after the country's president, Milo Djukanovic, dissolved parliament due to the lack of consensus to form a government. Djukanovic seeks to be re-elected for a 3rd term in these elections, which will pit in the European bloc, represented by the president, against some candidates closer to Moscow. Djukanovic has ruled Montenegro almost continuously for nearly 3 decades, since he broke with Serbia and helped to oversee independence in 2006. Montenegro is a NATO member and candidate for European Union membership. Serbia and its breakaway province Kosovo are on their way to normalize relations after tensions between both rose in November 2022. Serbian and Kosovar authorities met in the city of Ostrida in northern Macedonia with the mediation of the European Union. Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić said his government and Kosovo agreed on several crucial points in what he considers a progress in the constructive process for the normalization of ties. The Serbian leader, however, pointed out that while his country is ready to work on the implementation of many points of the plan endorsed by the European bloc, formal recognition and membership of Kosovo in the United Nations is out of the question. Kosovo unilaterally declared its independence in 2008 with the support of the United States and many of its allies. The breakaway region is not recognized by several countries, including Russia, China, and Serbia itself. Kazakhstan held early elections on Sunday, allowing independent candidates to be elected to parliament in a sign of democratic openness. Kazakhs went to the polls on Sunday to elect the lower house of parliament in a snap election as part of the institutional overhaul promoted by the country's president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Polling stations for Kazakhstan's parliamentary elections closed at 8 p.m. local time after a calm voting day. The Central Asian country's Central Election Commission reported 2 hours after the polls closed, 6.4 million citizens, or 53.11% of the 12.3 million eligible voters, had cast their ballots. The turnout was just over 5% lower than in the previous parliamentary elections in January 2021, when it was 58.2%. In addition to the Majlis elections, which are valid regardless of voter turnout, special local elections were also held. Russian President Vladimir Putin has paid a visit to Mariupol, inspecting the city's infrastructure and talking to local residents. They discussed the construction of new residential micro-districts, social and educational facilities, housing and communal services infrastructure, medical institutions. Kozynulin told Putin that Mariupol residents were actively returning to the city following restoration works. Public transport is up and running in Mariupol, the deputy prime minister said, adding that the city's 4 streetcar routes are expected to start operating by the summer. Kozynulin showed Putin the building of the city Philharmonic Hall, telling the president that its construction was fully completed in 3 months. The reconstruction of the city center of Mariupol, where many historical buildings are located, is planned to be completed by the end of 2023, said the deputy prime minister. Russian President Vladimir Putin has met with senior military commanders at a command center in the city of Rostov-on-Don. According to the Kremlin press service, the meeting took place as part of an unannounced visit by the Russian president to the command and control center in southern Russia, responsible for military operations in Ukraine. During his visit, Putin received an assessment of military reports from the troops stationed at the control center. The high-level meeting follows Putin's surprise visits to Crimea and the city of Mariupol in the Donetsk region, which was liberated by Russian forces last spring after weeks of heavy fighting. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Protests continue in Israel against the judicial reform. Demonstrations were repressed by security forces. Protest leaders denounced in a statement the increase of violence against the rallies, which they consider is due to direct incitements by Yair Netanyahu, son of the Prime Minister. Netanyahu described demonstrators as Nazis, comparing them on social media with Nazi parliamentary groups. The mobilized population held the Prime Minister responsible for all these events and called on him to ask security agents to stop violence. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad met this Sunday with the Emirati leader in Abu Dhabi. During the meeting, al-Nahyan stated that the talks explore ways to enhance cooperation for stability and progress in Syria and the region. Mohammed bin Zayed urged Arab countries to welcome Syria back and reconcile with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad after differences arising from the U.S.-imposed conflict since 2011. The United Arab Emirates was the first Gulf country to reopen its embassy in Syria at the end of 2018 and has also sent several batches of humanitarian aid to help people cope with the aftermath of the 6 February earthquakes. The visit marks a continuation in the ongoing thaw of relations between Syria and other Arab countries more than a decade after the 22-member Arab League suspended Damascus membership over al-Assad's crackdown on protesters and later on civilians during the war. The UAE's approach and efforts towards Syria are part of a deeper vision and a broader approach aimed at strengthening Arab and regional stability. In Bangladesh, at least 19 people were killed and nearly 26 others were injured in a car accident in the central district of Madaripur. According to police sources, the accident took place at 7:40 a.m. local time in the Kutubpur area when the bus carrying more than 30 passengers skid off the road and fell into a ditch. According to the police report, 14 people died on the spot and the rest succumbed to their injuries on the way to hospital. The causes of the accidents are not yet known as no witnesses have been found. However, it has been reported that initial investigations suggest that the accident may have been caused by excessive speeds. Nigerians went back to the polls on Saturday to vote in regional elections after February's contested presidential elections. Polling stations opened at 8:30 a.m. and closed by 2:30 p.m. local time. Though delays are frequent and voters in line before closing time could still be able to vote. New governors are being chosen from 28 of Nigeria's 36 states as the opposition continues to reject the victory of President-elect Bola Tinubu from the West African nation's ruling party. Although there are 87.2 million registered voters, analysts fear a repeat of the low participation in last month's presidential vote, which recorded a 26.7% voter turnout rate, the lowest in Nigeria's history. National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno reported on the deployment of the armed forces to secure the electoral process in the face of the tense security situation in the West African nation. Heads of states from the Economic and Monetary Community of Central Africa met on Friday in Cameroonian capital Yaoundé for a one-day summit to discuss the region's economy and impact of the war in Ukraine. In a final statement, the heads of states welcomed the exceptional economic measures undertaken by the group's members to mitigate the impact of the conflict. The meeting, which began at ministerial level on Wednesday, also saw 90-year-old Paul Biya pass on the mandate as head of the conference to Central African Republic President Faustin Archange Touadéra for 1 year. The six-nation group comprises the Central African republics of Chad, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, and the Republic of Congo, in addition to Cameroon, in a union around a common currency, the CFA franc. We have come to the end of this news brief. From you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.